The program you are about to see is called the Anishinaabe View, in their own words. This is a series of shows produced by the Algoma District School Board for a website being developed called Voices from the Gathering Place. This is about the earliest history of Sault Ste. Marie between 1622 and 1870. What we discovered in developing this website was that while the significant events in this period all included First Nations and Métis people from the area, and while their stories were being represented, their voice was not. And it was important to include their voice and their stories. And even more remarkable and interesting was that the stories from the oral tradition were often ones that were not in the written record. And so we're so happy to present this series of shows filmed at Eastview Public School with Anishinaabe students from grades 4 to 8 with elders, chiefs, and knowledge keepers, and hearing the Anishinaabe view in their own words.
Oh.
Miigwech for coming to Eastview School, and Miigwech for sharing your teachings with us.
Miigwech. Okay. Okay, bonjour. Ngema nemanagoji ngoya kasit jnakaz bajwanang donji gajak todam Anishinaabe nene endao. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Chief Dean Sayers. I'm the Chief of Batchewana First Nation. And it's an honor. It feels really good to come here and be with you guys this afternoon to take some questions and see if I can handle your questions. I think I should be able to. I'll do my best anyway to provide some answers. A lot of the answers that I'm going to try and share with you are some of the answers that people have shared with me over a lot of years. And some of the people that shared these answers with me are like close to 100 years old. And they remember things from a long time ago. So the elders really share lots of things with me that I need to remember when I do my job as Chief of Batchewana First Nation. And what happens if you don't share what you know, you'll forget it and you'll lose it, and then the next generations won't have it. So I want to do my best to be able to come and talk to the schools and talk to the students and share our perspectives so that it's there in the future too. Because a lot of the things that I'm going to talk about, you won't find them in the books. But it's really important. It's our story rather than his story. History is his story. We have our story. And I'm going to try and share our story with you from what I understand it to be. So thank you for taking some time to come up with some questions, and I'm looking forward to that. So how did you want to start? Do we want to start with number one? All right, we'll start over here. And maybe if you could say your name and... Yeah, thank you.
Could you tell us what Baawating was like before the settlers?
What Baawating was? Okay. What's your name?
Kanisha.
Kenesha, okay. Thank you, Kenesha. And Kenesha asked, can I see it? What Baawating was like before the settlers? Is that what it says? Yeah. So this place, we call it Sault Ste. Marie now, but it wasn't that long ago that it was called Baawating. And our elders in our community still call it Baawating. Anagija. Where are you going? That's Baawating, kira. They're going to Sault Ste. Marie. But Baawating is a place where the rapids are. I've heard different variations on what it was, but for us, Baawating is a very spiritual healing place that the people gathered, and healing comes in many forms. Food is also a healer. So when we came here, we would feast and we'd celebrate. And when you eat and you're feeling, it helps you feel good. So Baawating was a place to come and feast and celebrate and trade. Baawating, you have to remember a long time ago, there was no roads, there was no cars. There were only a few trails, but most of the travel was done by water, by boat. So all of the waterways, if you ever looked at a map of Central North America or North America or the Great Lakes, you'd see that the center of the Great Lakes is here. So if you looked at the rivers and the lakes being the highways, you would see that this area is where all those roads met. So this was a really important place for Anishinaabe. It was the center of the Great Lakes. It was like the capital city of the Great Lakes, Sault Ste. Marie, Baawating. It was the center. And the people of Baawating, or Batchewana, were the hosts. And we've had a very long history of welcoming people from all over North America here. And even more recently, in the last 500 years, welcoming people from all over the world. So we've always been a place to gather. And Baawating has always been a place to gather. And we used to even have our government meetings here in Baawating. It was the city. It was a big community. It was, Batchewana actually had a permanent village here. And it was this village that was host to all of these other tribes from all over. In the fall is when the more major gatherings, the end of summer, early fall is when a lot of the major gatherings were here, because that's when the whitefish were running. So the whitefish, you could walk across the St. Mary's River on the backs of the whitefish, is what the elders say. There was so many fish. And people would come here and they would trade for the fish, and we'd eat the fish and we'd smoke the fish, and I don't mean like this, I mean smoking it on racks and drying it. We would dry the fish and we'd use that. And then if you smoked it and salted it, it would keep for a long time, so you had food for a long time. So it was pretty cool. Baawating was quite the bustling place to be back in the day. Yeah, go ahead, what's your name?
My name is Cody.
Hi, Cody.
Who were some of the past chiefs of Batchewana?
Oh, okay. More recently, before I was chief, Vernon Surrett was the chief, and he's still a part of my council. He still helps out a lot. He has an incredible wealth of knowledge. At the table, we have 3 chiefs. There's myself, Chief Vernon Surrett, Chief Harvey Bell. He's also at the table right now, and he helps out yet. We still consider him a chief. We have many chiefs that are still here. We also have Chief Duke Corbier that is also in the communities yet. And he helps out when he can. He helps us out. More recently, he's helping us out with some of our memory around the treaty relationship. So we really appreciate all of the former chiefs. We also have Angela Nephew. I don't know if anybody knows her here, but she's also a chief. She was a chief in the early 1990s. Before then, we also had Chief Boyer, who was also from the Rankin community. We also had another Chief Boyer that was there in the 1930s, 1940s. Other Chief Sayerses in the past, including even prior to them. And we'll talk a little bit more about the older chiefs that were there in the 1805, 1810, 1840, 1790. Those chiefs, Chief Nimanagojing was a prominent chief, and so was Chief Wabachichak. But we've had a lot of chiefs over time. There was a time up until about 1905, 1910, 1920, in that era, when you became a chief, you were a chief for your entire life. I am as well. I am a hereditary chief, so I come from the Chieftainship clan. I am a Huron. And you see the bird on my hat here? That's the Chieftain clan. And I'm a member of the Blue Heron clan, the Crane clan. And my family has been involved in leadership and as chiefs since we were put here, and since we befriended the Crane to help us. So I'm from the Crane clan. And I'm a hereditary chief, and my grandfather was a hereditary chief, and his father was hereditary chief, and his father was hereditary chief, and so on and so on and so on. So we have a lot of chiefs today. We have various chiefs that also help out in various areas. We have regional chiefs, we have grand chiefs. There's a lot of chiefs around. Okay? Thank you.
Hi. Were there any enemies of the Anishinaabe at Baawating?
Well, there was a time in the 1600s when it wasn't long after the settlers arrived here from all over the world. A lot of what do they call the guy? Explorers. You know, when the explorers first came here and they claimed they discovered this area. Well, don't believe that, because we discovered them. They were lost, and if anybody discovered anybody, we discovered them. So when we discovered them, they were told that we were the government here. We were in charge, and they needed to do things the way we do things. And over time, more and more of them came, and they started to bring their own language and their own culture, and it really became clouded. So there became a lot of confusion amongst ourselves. Originally, we were a people of peace, and we are still a people of peace, but there was a time in the 1600s after these people started coming here that we forgot our peaceful ways, and we started to come up with these barriers around, this is my land, this is my stuff, and we were kind of getting a little greedy, and we started to fight other tribes. And we realized after a few years that that's not our way, that we are a peaceful people, and we started to have treaties, or we started to have reconciliation, or we started to have peace with those tribes once again. One of the tribes that we went to war with is called the Dakota tribe. Does anybody know the Dakota tribe? Ever heard of the Dakota tribe? The Dakota tribe is a tribe in the eastern prairies of Canada and the United States, and they're related to the Lakota and the Nakota. But the Dakotas, we actually have a treaty with them, and our treaty is in the form of a big drum with the Dakota Nation. And the Dakota Nation gave us this big drum as a sign of peace between our nations, between our people, and how it's put together. So the Dakota provided us with the big drum as a peace treaty between the Dakotas and the Ojibwe. So that's like a contract. That's like a peace document. That's how we formulated that. That's really strong. It's a spiritual resolution to our war with the Dakotas. We also had a war with the Haudenosaunee. You call them Nadewiks, Ongwehoe. They're the Iroquois Confederacy, or the Longhouse. The Haudenosaunee are the Mohawks, the Senecas, the Cayugas, the Oneidas, the Onondagas. And there are a couple more that are joined in with that alliance, including the Tabagos, or the Tobacco, and I believe I can't be sure, there's also the Nanticokes were a part of that. And did I say Delaware? But anyway, we went to war with them. Again, we forgot our peaceful history. And in that instance, we came up with a wampum belt after that war, which is a whole bunch of white abalone shell. You know what an abalone shell is? You ever see a smudge bowl? And that smudge bowl is made out of like a seashell. That's abalone. But those abalone shells were cut up into small beads, and that's what they made this belt out of. And this belt had symbols on it, and this particular belt that we had created between ourselves, this is before the settler treaties on paper. This is our paper, this is our document, this is how we did things, this is how we formalized really important things. So this belt was a friendship belt between the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe, the Ojibwe, and that it was a sign of how we were going to be friends, both peoples. And that was a friendship wampum that we created with the Haudenosaunee. So we did have wars, but we also made commitments, and we buried the hatchet, is what they said. And what we actually did was that we buried our war clubs under the tree of peace. So we don't go to war anymore. We don't go to arms or go to weapons to defend our ways now. We exhaust all peaceful means to try and resolve our differences, even with the government that's here today, the Canadian government that's here today. We don't always get along, but I will only endorse, and our leadership will only endorse, peaceful resolution. We have to resolve things peacefully. We have to take the time to sit down and talk amongst each other and do things in a good way, remembering all of these grandfather teachings and how we conduct ourselves as a people and as a nation as we relate with other nations. So we try to do things peacefully, and that's why we have these things as reminders for us to do things peacefully, kindly, in a loving way. Okay? Thank you.
Hani Leila Nadishnikaz, could you tell us what the Battle of Maple Island was about?
Oh boy, Maple Island. So I was just telling you a little bit about, we had that battle with the Haudenosaunee, the Iroquois Confederacy. And there was a little bit of a back and forth where they would come up and there would be a desecration or a massacre where when we were at war, and we'd kill a bunch of them, and then they'd go back, and then they'd come back with more, or they'd kill a bunch of us and we'd go after them, and we'd just move back and forth throughout the Great Lakes area here, fighting back and forth with the Iroquois Haudenosaunee, the Ongwehoe Confederacy. And at one point we had this one battle, and we decided that if they were going to come back at us, we were victorious. The Ojibwe people were victorious here in Baawating. And so we went back to we didn't just live in Baawating, because we had to manage a huge territory, this area here. So we'd be in Baawating here, Sault Ste. Marie, and we'd move along the shore at different times, and we'd have these semi-nomadic, our villages. Some of them were somewhat permanent, but we'd move all over on this shoreline of Lake Superior. And we would maintain ourselves by fishing and hunting all over this area. So right now, the fish are deep. So right now we have our fishermen that are way up in this area in the deep, cold water. Pretty soon the fish will come up when the water gets warmer. They'll come up on the sandy beaches, and they'll start to, and what the whitefish do in the spring, in May, late April, May, the whitefish, you ever see a whitefish? If you look at a whitefish and you kind of tilt them a little bit, and you'll see that shine, they kind of have a glisten, they kind of shine a little bit, like metallic kind of thing, kind of view of it. Anyway, those fish, you know how they get that way is in the spring of the year, they'll actually go up into those sandy beaches like Harmony Beach and Haviland Bay Beach and Batchewana Beach, Pancake Beach, those sandy beaches, and they'll roll around in the sand on the beaches, in the water, in the sand, and they roll around and they'll shine themselves up with that sand. You ever use sand to wash your hands when you're out in? That's the same idea. The fish clean themselves up, pretty themselves up so they can mate. And they mate after that. They try to find girlfriends and boyfriends after that, in the spring. So we would go right after, when you see the gloss or the glass water, that's when those whitefish are in those areas. So we'd go fish in that area. And it goes by the temperature of the water is when those fish move around. So we'd move with the temperature of the water. So we were not always in Baawating. So we had this battle here, and with the Mohawks, and Maple Island is right here. Yeah, right here. So what we decided to do was, we'll surround this island with the heads of the Mohawks. So they they circled this island and put all of their heads on sticks all the way around the island. So that when the Mohawks came, and we didn't have many people in the villages here, we were out hunting and fishing, that it would be a fear tactic so that they wouldn't go any farther. And they didn't. So that was how Maple Island was a place as part, it was a military, part of our military strategies. And Maple Island was what the elders tell me that they used to do. That's what they did so that the Mohawks wouldn't come back. My dad, he's 95 now, but he tells me over here that when he was a kid and he would go with the old men and they would go picking wild rice, he would have to take his turn sitting on the beach at night at the fire listening for the Nodawiks. And the Nodawiks are the Mohawks. And not specifically the Mohawks, but that confederacy. And Nodawik, in our language, a Nodaway is weeds. He's peeking through the weeds. That's what we mean when they say Nodaway, Nodawiks, Nodawasaga, Owen Sound area, you know, that Nodawasaga beach area down that way. That's what they call Nodaway, is the Nodaways. That's where the Nodaways are from. That's the area that the Iroquois Confederacy was from. So we had to be careful, and that's what the elders would say. You got to be careful of the Nodaways because they'll come. They'll be peeking through the weeds, and they'll steal our women when we're not watching. And my dad said that he was told when he was a kid that women were going to the bathroom, to the outhouse, and they weren't coming back. Someone was stealing the women. Or they would go to the clothesline, and they wouldn't come back. Someone would steal the women from hanging up the clothes. So when he was young, 100 years ago, there was still remnants of that, where they had to take turns at night watching for the Nodawiks. So the Nodawiks are the ones that we circled their heads around the side. So it's not that long ago that we still, now we have that treaty with them, a peace friendship treaty, and we get along great. I met with the Seneca Nation a couple years ago, with the chiefs of the Seneca Nation, and they reminded us that we have to recite the friendship wampum, which means that we have to gather and we have to have ceremony and we have to talk about what we said in the 1600s when we talked about this friendship relationship between us, how we were going to bury the hatchet and be of peace between us. So yeah, that was the Nodaways, Maple Island, yeah, Natig.
What grandfather teaching speaks to you at this point in your life?
This hat that I'm wearing, when the elders, when they put this hat on me and it was created, one of the things that they told me is to be of kind mind, kind body, kind spirit. That I am a medicine, and that with this, I have the power to make somebody feel good or feel bad about themselves, and to remind the people, to remind the kids that we all are in control of the most powerful medicine. The most powerful medicine that we have is our mouths and our bodies and how we conduct ourselves and how we carry ourselves. We have to be kind. And that's the first thing that was told to me, was we always have to be kind. So around this hat, you see the sweetgrass there? This braid of sweetgrass. So when we pick sweetgrass, we have to pray that morning before we go out so that I can be kind. Because whatever you are is what you're going to give the people. And if you're going to pick this, you have to be open to absorb and take in that kindness. If you're full of anger and you have all these blockages, you have to be careful. You're not going to be the best conductor of kindness. So when you wake up in the morning, you ask to have kind mind, kind body, kind spirit that day. So when we braid the sweetgrass, that's what we're praying. Help me be of kind mind, kind body, kind spirit. Kind mind, kind body, kind spirit. That's how those three braids that make up a braid, that's what we're supposed to be praying for, is kindness. And when you get older, what the elders tell us is when you're having a heck of a time, you're having a hard time and things aren't going your way, maybe crying a little bit and upset about something, and you're walking down the mall and you see a guy are a woman, Native woman that has braids, guess what that means? That means that they prayed that morning to be kind. They prayed to be of kind mind, kind body, kind spirit. So you can approach them and you can say, can I talk to you for a minute? I'm really having some hard times here. And they will, because they're walking that way that day, they'll be able to be kind to you. So for me, one of those 7 grandfathers that's prominent is to be kind. It's not always the easiest thing to do, but we have to find a way of being kind. We need that. Humanity needs that. Our world needs that. The environment needs us to be kind.
Could you tell us why Baawating was an important meeting place for trade?
Okay. What I understand, Baawating is the center of the Great Lakes. All the highways led here, highways meaning the waterways. So the other thing that you need to be conscious of is what the elders tell me is that Michigan, and Shikan is, you know what Shikan is? You guys know what that is? Anybody? Medicine. Shikan. 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 Anyway, but what I understand that to mean is che, me che. You know what is che? Anybody know what che is? Big, right? Like Jijimon is the big canoe, the big boat that Manitoulin, and I don't know what other words. Che. Anybody know any other words? Che. Chamakwa. What's that? Big bear, yeah. So, che is really important to us. So, Michigan, che, the big medicine. Michigan is the big medicine. Ontario is the big medicine, and it's the big medicine because it's actually in this area. It's the pharmacy of North America, and it's the pharmacy because in this particular area, it's a split forest. It's a deciduous forest and it's a coniferous forest. So it's the leaves that fall off the trees kind of forest, and it's the evergreens. So both of those types of forests are here, and each one has a lot of medicines. So there's a lot of medicine in our area. This is the medicine cabinet of North America. So people would come here and trade medicines from all over. As you go north of here, if you go north of Wawa, you'll see very few, if any, there'll be no more maple trees. That's just the way it is. That's just the climate. And as you go farther north, it'll be mainly evergreens. And as you go south, there's less and less evergreens, not as populated. So it's really rich with medicine, this area. We also, in this area, harvested copper. Copper is a spirit as well. Very powerful spirit. And a mineral. And there's teachings, there's spirits here that are about that, and powerful spirits. And I'll tell you about those spirits one of these days, but it's really a powerful mineral. And we traded copper. So there was archaeological digs, archaeologists came to Sault Ste. Marie and did some work. And they found things traded here from all over South America, as far away as in the far north of Alaska and northern Canada. Things were traded with the native people here from all over. They came here to trade for what we had. The fish, the copper, the minerals, whatever we had. We were also forestry experts. We had our own processing of snowshoes. Snowshoes were prominent from our area. You know what it's like having snow up to your neck. Well, it's always been that way. So we invented snowshoes. There was a lot of things that came from the Ojibwe people. Maple syrup, another one that we traded. That tastes so good. Lots of medicines for aspirin, for pain. That came from here too. Lots of things that people don't know that we have, but that's why this was such a prominent area. Okay, next.
Could you tell us how the Anishinaabe of Baawating participated in the War of 1812?
We actually sent 600 warriors from here. And Batchewana's chief was killed in Niagara Falls area. I don't know if you know where Fort George is, down at the mouth of the Niagara River where it comes into Lake Ontario. Batchewana's chief was killed in the War of 1812. Anybody ever hear of Brock University? Sir Isaac Brock? Also, so he was killed in 1813. The war started in 1812. We sent all these warriors down there. There was, at the time, we went with Chief Shingwak, Chief Wabachichok, Chief Shingaboasan, Chief Kageash, there was a number of chiefs that went from our area that were all Crane clan. We were all relatives. They led the contingent of warriors that went down there. And our chief was killed. General Brock, who was fighting for the British in the War of 1812. And if you don't know what the War of 1812 was, it was the United States wanted this area to be a part of the United States. And we decided to, as the indigenous people, we decided that we would support the British. So what the British told us was that we will fight to protect the rights of the indigenous people. It wasn't the indigenous people that went to fight for the British. It was the British that was fighting for us to protect our rights, because there was the strong possibility of infringements, or the United States would try to extinguish our language, our culture, our rights to manage the lands. So we aligned ourselves with the British. It wasn't the other way around. The British were our allies, rather than we were the allies of the British. It doesn't quite reflect that way in the history today. So actually, out of appreciation, Sir Isaac Brock, General Brock in Niagara Falls, gave Chief Shingwak his shoulder flashings on his uniform to the chief, one of our chiefs in the area, and his sword for as a sign of their cooperation and their working together in the War of 1812. So when Batchewana's chief Wabachichok was killed in Fort George in 1813, that left Batchewana with a very young hereditary chief. The chief was actually 8 years old after the War of 1812. 1813, Batchewana ended up having a chief that was 8 years old. His name was Chief Niminagojing. And Chief Niminagojing is Crane. He's a crane, and the name is, he's a crane, but he flies with tilted wing. That's what Niminagojing meant. And Chief Niminagojing his job for the people was to be able to be the chief, but look at things out of the ordinary, look at things in a unique way, bring a different perspective to the people than what we're conditioned to think. So we were very prominent in the War of 1812. We actually sacrificed a lot during the 1812. And we ended up at the end of that war continuing to have all of our language and our culture and our jurisdiction protected by the British. And that's still the case today. There was never an extinguishment. Our rights were never extinguished. We still have all of those things. That's why today you'll see a lot of Native people standing up and being critical and complaining to Canada and protesting, saying, you're supposed to be protecting my rights, not extinguishing them and taking them away. You're supposed to help me. That's part of where it came from, is during the War of 1812. We agreed to work together. But so, important date for us, 1812. Yeah. Next.
Do you have any words of wisdom for our youth?
One of the elders one time told me that we, as a people, at one time we were really dependent on the land. We were dependent on all of the animals, and all of the animals as our relatives provided so much for us. Those things, our world has changed so much. And what the elders say, as you move along and as you grow as a people, you should always find the tools and embrace the tools that can help you and help your people. You have to be able to change and embrace and really try to cash in on whatever you're given. Make the best of it and give it, your full attention. And what he was talking about was education. He said, that's the new buffalo. That's the new provider for our people. So we need to be educated and benefit yourself, but also provide benefit to the people and always give back to the people. We have to remember who we are. We have our story. We have our history. We have our own obligations to the Creator. And we always have to find our history in addition to what we may learn in the modern Canadian school system. So that's a big challenge for us. Find and pursue education, but make sure that it's inclusive of everything that it is to be Anishinaabe. Look for what is ours. Seek it out. We have a huge responsibility to find our story and to keep it alive and tell the next generation, your kids and your kids' kids and your kids' kids' kids. In the future, we want everybody to continue to remember what it is that we inherited as inherent obligations. Okay? That's one of the things that I try to work from. Okay? Hopefully that works for you guys too. Okay?
Could you tell us about the Mica Bay mine takeover?
Okay. So I was telling you a little bit about how the Anishinaabe of this area always recognized that we told the Creator that we're going to look after this land. We're going to look after our relatives. And what that means is that we're going to look after our relative the moose, our relative the bear, our relative the goose, our relative the rabbit, our relative the turtle, our relative the maple tree, our relative the copper, our relative the silver, our relative the gold. Those are all our relatives. Those are all our relations. And we committed to looking after them, protecting them, using them, thanking them for sacrificing themselves for our use, and that we would protect them and we would manage them in a sustainable way. That's what we always said we would do. So today, we still recognize that obligation to all of creation, and we're going to do that. We do that today in all of our work as a people. We continue to carry and fulfill our obligations to all of creation. And it's really important for all of us to remember that, and wherever we go, to look after the lands and look after the environment and use that in a healthy way. Yeah. What was that? Can you say that again?
Could you tell us about the Mica Bay mine takeover?
So, how that relates to Mica Bay was that we said that we don't mind sharing with the settlers that came here. We said, we'll share some of the resources, we'll share some of the forests, we'll share some of the copper with you, but we will manage that, we will permit that, or we will give licenses for that to happen. And the government of the day, the Canadian or the British government, said, okay, we won't allow any thefts of any of your resources without your permission. But we found out at Mica Bay here, we found out that there was this theft of copper. There was an illegal mine operating up in Mica Bay. They were stealing copper. And we asked them if they had a permit, and they said no. Ontario said it's okay. So, well, who's Ontario? They don't own this land in this area. They don't own the copper. So we borrowed a cannon in Sault Ste. Marie here, and we went up there. And we fired one volley into the mine, and they all come out with their hands up. And we put a padlock on the mine. And of course, it wasn't very long that the head of the government of Canada was located in Toronto at I don't know if you know, near the waterfront at the bottom of Parliament Street. That's why they call it Parliament Street, but in York, Fort York, in that area. Anyway, they sent up the Governor General and they sent up the military. So the military came up here and arrested us. There was over 100 of the soldiers that came here and arrested us and marched us off, took us off to Toronto, to York, to the capital, and put us in jail. And then the Governor General said, the Native people are right. The people of Batchewana are right. You have no business putting them in jail. That's their land. That's their copper. So a year later, we were released. We came home. A year later, there was a huge treaty that was signed in Sault Ste. Marie because of that, the Robinson Treaties of 1850. So 1849 we were arrested. 1850 is when the treaty was signed in Sault Ste. Marie. And we at that time said that we would share the resources in writing and in ceremony with the settlers here. So it was that the Mica Bay incident that led to the Treaty of 1850 being signed in Sault Ste. Marie. The cannon is still in the water up there. They threw it off the boat into the water, and one of our fishermen knows where the cannon is. I'd like to see that cannon just to see what it looks like. But that cannon was in Sault Ste. Marie. It was left here because after the War of 1812 with the United States, there was still military equipment here, so we borrowed that and we went up there. So Mica Bay was really prominent for the establishment of Sault Ste. Marie because it formalized a relationship with the First Nations people, because there wouldn't be Sault Ste. Marie if we didn't give the land to Sault Ste. Marie to use. But when we said we would do that, we also said we'd benefit from everything on the land that we were sharing. So after that treaty, after Mica Bay, and after the treaty was signed, Ontario said, okay, can we do this, and can we share the resources? Can we share the copper? And we said, well, I don't know about that. I don't know if we can trust you guys if you're going to be honorable. Or are you going to be out here stealing from us again? And they said, we promise, we promise. And you know what? How about if we sell the copper and we give you some of the money from the copper? How's that, Native people? And we said, okay, but we're going to watch you. We want half of everything that you're selling. If you're going to make $1, we want 50 cents. They talked in pounds and European money, but that's basically what happened. So since that time, since 1850, we actually line up at the arena and we all get our share of the value of the copper, of the logs, of the gold, of the silver, of the everything, all of the natural resources in our area, in the Sault Ste. Marie area. We all line up and get our fair share of the resources. You follow me? So you would think that's a lot of money, eh? That we should be getting a lot of money each for our fair share. You know what we get? $4 a year each. So I'll be lining up on May 5th, I think it is. May 5th, the RCMP comes in their red uniforms and their big brimmed hats, and looks like they got a bunch of stuff in their pockets, those pants, and they come here in their bag of toonies, and we all line up and they give us 2 toonies each for our share of the resources. So they say that's honorable, that's the way it works out, but we know that's not right, so we're working on that. So that all comes from Mica Bay. So Mica Bay was important to us. If it wasn't for the Mica Bay incident, we wouldn't be getting our $4 a year.
Could you tell us what the agreement of the Robinson-Huron Treaty was for the Anishinaabe?
Well, originally the Robinson-Huron Treaty was in 1850. I just talked about it. So 1849, we went up, we bored that cannon, we shut down that mine. Canada was told by a judge, the Governor General, you need a treaty with the Anishinaabe in that area, so you can legitimize, you can legalize your mine. So the treaty, there wouldn't have been a Robinson-Huron or Robinson-Superior Treaty if it wasn't for the Mica Bay incident. So the Robinson Treaty, Canada decided, well, you know, it really isn't the best thing for us to resolve this relationship with the Batchewana people just in isolation, just by themselves. So why don't we get a treaty for the whole area? So that's what they did. They decided to do a treaty from Thunder Bay to Parry Sound, over to North Bay, and all of that land from Thunder Bay all around this side of the Great Lakes. That was what was included in the Robinson Treaty. They needed to legalize the Mica Bay mine. So we went to the treaty, we did lots of ceremony before treaty. We got to the treaty, and they wanted us to give up everything. And our chiefs and our leaders, principal people, said, no, we know what you're doing. and we're not going to be ripped off. You're not going to rip us off. And as a matter of fact, we want to have an annuity. We want to have a sum of money paid to us every year. And we know you can do it because you and the American government are already doing this. You're doing it in the United States. We know you provide treaty money in the States, so we want an annuity based on the value of whatever you sell. So we said we will not sign that treaty. We want at least this amount of money. And then Robinson said, well, I just have this one bag of money and that's all I got. I got no more money. What am I going to do? So he said, no, we're not signing the treaty. No, bye-bye. You're not getting any of the copper or the gold or anything out of here. So Robinson said, so what do we do now? The whole idea behind this treaty was to get Batchewana to sign. Batchewana refused to sign. Garden River refused to sign. So what they did was that they decided to make it into two treaties, the Robinson Superior Treaty and the Robinson Huron Treaty. And they made the Superior Treaty line down south of the Mica Bay area, and they got the chiefs in that area to sign that treaty and move Batchewana and Garden River over to the Huron Treaty. So they didn't care if we opposed it, because as long as the Superior Chiefs agreed to it, they were legitimizing the Mica Bay mine. So that's the way the Superior Chiefs actually signed off on the Superior Treaty, legitimizing the Mica Bay mine, and Batchewana was left in the Huron Treaty with Garden River. So we were pretty upset about that. And we said, we're not signing any treaty. We're not signing any Huron treaty either. So the other 19 First Nations that were a part of the Huron treaty said to Batchewana, please sign the treaty. They're surrounding us with guns. They're going to kill us. They're starving us. We need this $2 or $3 or $4 a year. We need relief. We need help. So we need you to sign this, Batchewana. So the other chiefs convinced Batchewana and Garden River to sign the Robinson-Huron Treaty of 1850. And we actually will be gathering this summer. We're having a treaty gathering, and it's going to be huge. We're going to put together a lot of teachings, a lot of history of what the relationship and the history of this area is as far as the relationship with the Indigenous people is concerned. So that's the Robinson Treaties of 1850 from our perspective. Best I can tell, what they tell me anyway, the elders. Yeah.
Can you tell us what an Indian agent was?
So the Indian agent was the guy that was kind of like the police for the government of Canada. Eventually, in 1867, you know, July 1st, 1867, you ever hear that? The really important date in Canada's history? Canada Day. Canada became a country. So one of the ways that they formalized that was that they came up with this law. And the law is called the British North American Act, the British North America Act. And it's kind of like the foundation for Canada. So every clause within Canada's British North America Act outlines how Canada is going to operate, how they're going to do things, the areas that they're going to focus on. It's basically a division of powers between the federal government and the provincial government. So within the listing, there's number 1, we'll do this. Number 1.1, we'll do this. Number 1.2, we'll do this. Number 2, we'll do this. Number 2.1, we'll do this. 2.2, 2.3. So they outline and list all of these things that each one's going to do. So under the responsibility of Canada, way down under 91, number 91.24, so the 91st issue, the 24th paragraph, is a reference to Native people. And in there it says, I hereby declare as, anybody know the name of Canada's first Prime Minister? Anybody? Sir John A. Macdonald. Yeah. So he said, I'm going to look after Indians and lands reserved for Indians. And we said, what? What? How can you look after us? You don't control us. If anything, we will look after you. It's our land, our resources. That was 91.24. And then what Sir John A. basically said not long after that, I'm taking this land, and you are now going to be looked after by me, and I'm going to make decisions in your best interest. I'm going to be your fiduciary. I'm going to look after you. I'll make your decisions. That's what, so he basically hired a bunch of Indian agents and said, you guys go out and you protect our interests, and you put those Native people on reserves, you squander them, you penalize them, you do this to them. So it was kind of like the police for the government of Canada at the time to get rid of the Indians, to kind of integrate them, to amalgamate them. So the Indian agents were actually in place, and they're still in place today. The Indian agent still actually makes the major decisions for First Nations. So as an example, we decide that we're going to hire, we're going to elect me to be the chief, and you're going to be the counselor, or you're going to be the chief and you're going to be the counselor, you're going to be the counselor, you're going to be a counselor in our government. We do up a letter, we saying, oh, by the way, Indian agent, we just had an election in our community and we decided so-and-so is going to be the chief and here's our council. And we'll give that to the Indian agent, and he actually has to put a stamp of approval on it and say, okay, I'll let them be your chief and I'll let them be your council. And if he doesn't do that, we don't have a government. That's kind of archaic that we have. That's the kind of archaic government we still have today. It's still illegal for an Indian to own land in Canada. We cannot own land. You as John Doe can own land, but if the band wants to own land, if we as a collective want to own land, we can't own land. According to Indian Affairs, all our land is owned by Canada, and it's held by Canada, like the Sir John A. Macdonald mentality. I'll own it for you and I'll make decisions about it and I'll manage it for you, but you can't own it. So when you say it's reserved, it's actually land reserved for Indians held in trust by the government of Canada. That's what a reserve is. It's not Indian land, it's lands that are held in trust by the federal government for the benefit of the Indians. That's what a reserve is. So Indian agents enforce all of these archaic laws. And I just met with an Indian agent last week about a number of things, trying to get out of the Indian Act and how we're going to do that and how we can empower our people to reclaim what we reserved as our jurisdiction. Because a lot of people think that we don't have a lot of rights, but we still have a lot. And Canada's afraid that we're going to wake up and we're going to do more about what we still have. But I'm going to keep going, and thank you for your question. I'm just going to run out of time here soon. But
Okay. Can you tell us how the Anishinaabe govern Baawating and how important decisions were made?
How they did originally? So there was a clan system in place, and there was various clans that looked after different parts of governance. So there was a time historically when we had forgot all of our ways of governing, and we weren't practicing these things. We weren't being kind. And the Creator asked if there was anybody still doing their original instructions, and luckily there was some people that were found that were still doing that. But the animals as well decided that it's kind of a sad situation where the humans are. They weren't really doing their jobs. They were just laying around. Like today would be, all they'd be doing is, all they're doing is playing video games. All they're doing is going down to the mall. All they're doing is just sitting around laying on the couch, and they're not doing their work that they're supposed to do. So the animals said, we don't want the earth to be destroyed, so we're going to take responsibility, Creator, and we're going to teach the Anishinaabe what their jobs are. They forgot. So the bear taught us how to be what we're supposed to be. So the bear showed us, and the bear know lots about medicine. So the bear know how to use the plants to heal themselves. So like when the bear is sleeping in the wintertime, they'll actually, when they have their babies around the end of January and they're hibernating, they'll wake up for a little while to have their babies. They'll nourish themselves a little bit, and they'll eat the dirt from under their fingernails. Because all summer long, they eat in harmony with what's going on with the earth. They'll eat the berries, they'll dig for roots, they'll eat bumblebees, they'll eat honey, and all of that is in their fingernails at the end of the summer. So in the wintertime, it's been preserved, and that nourishes them just enough. So they eat with Mother Nature, and that's how they heal themselves all the time. They know how to cure like wounds and cuts. Bears do that. So they help human beings. Some of the human beings, they said, we're going to help you, so you're going to have your job back. The Crane, similarly, that Crane clan, the Crane said, I'll help, I'll teach them how to be the voice for the people. I'll teach them how to look after relations. And if you ever hear a crane and that noise they make, they draw your attention. That's what the chiefs are supposed to do. That's what the Crane's supposed to do. They're supposed to compel you to hear. Each clan does that. So each one had a responsibility. That's what governed us here. many animals, many clans that had a role, and that's never been extinguished. So that's the clan system. Okay.
What is your biggest accomplishment as chief?
I really enjoy going to talk all over, and I get invitations. I actually spoke in Ottawa the day before yesterday at a national forestry conference. I went and spoke at Carleton University recently. I went to the University of Ottawa recently. I went to the University of Guelph recently. I spoke at Algoma University recently, Sioux College, different high schools. I go all over. The biggest accomplishment I can leave is being able to share what I've learned over time. I think there's value there. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your teachings.
Oh, all right. Well, thank you all. Thank you so much. Did you want to just real quickly, tell me what your question was? Go ahead, just real quickly.
All it was, would you like to talk about anything we haven't said?
I just want to say miigwech. I really appreciate being able to come here and share with you. And I hope you can find something there. And please don't be afraid to share that, talk about it. There's other perspectives too, and that's okay. We respect each other's perspectives. We always think twice. Like means twice, or redo, redone, refocus. Spect is like spectacles. So we always look twice and we respect each other. So you're going to find other perspectives and appreciate that. But find value in what I'm sharing with you too, and use that to help share with your families as much as you want. You can always get a hold of me again if you want me to come and talk again. Lots of stuff that we can be talking about that we need to talk about. So thank you again for having me. I really enjoyed it. Okay, guys? Thank you.
Miigwech.